from the flat land around it, like a guard keeping watch. Its rocky slopes hide many tunnels that go deep inside. Some people say these tunnels are home to strange things that science can't explain. In the 1980s, the government picked Yucca Mountain to store America's nuclear waste. This choice turned the quiet mountain into a hotly debated site. Workers dug huge tunnels and rooms into the mountain. They built them to safely hold dangerous materials for the next 10,000 years. But as they dug deeper, workers started to see and hear things they couldn't explain. The project was huge. They made a main tunnel shaped like a U that was 5 miles long. Many smaller tunnels branched off from it. At the busiest time, about 2,800 people worked inside the mountain. Most came for the good pay. None of them knew what strange things they would find underground. The first weird reports came in around 1994, 3 years after the Big Dig began. A night boss named Ray Mendez was doing his checks when he heard whispers coming from an empty part of the North Tunnel. He thought some workers had wandered off, so he followed the sounds deeper into the mountain. "I heard what sounded like people talking, but I couldn't make out the words," Mendez wrote in his report. "When I got closer, the whispers moved farther away. I followed them for about 15 minutes before I realized I had gone way past the areas we had dug out." The next morning, Mendez looked at the tunnel maps. He found out he had been in a section that was closed off 2 weeks earlier because the rocks weren't safe. There should have been a wall blocking that area, but somehow he had walked right through with no memory of seeing any wall. More reports came in soon after. Workers heard their names called from empty tunnels. Tools would vanish from one spot and show up in far-off parts of the tunnels that were hard to reach. But most often, people heard whispers. Some said it sounded like English played backward. Others thought it was a language no one knew. The engineers first said these were just weird sound effects that happen in tunnels. Sound acts strangely underground. It bounces off walls and can trick your ears. The special rock layers in Yucca Mountain could make sounds seem odd. But this answer couldn't explain what happened to the Baker 7 survey team in summer 1995. The 5 people on this team were mapping a new section about 1,400 feet underground. Their job was simple: study the rocks and find any cracks that might make it unsafe to store waste there. 4 hours into their work, they made a normal radio check with the surface. That was the last time anyone heard from them. When they didn't come back on time, a search team went looking. They found all the team's gear scattered on the tunnel floor. Notebooks were open with sentences that stopped midway. Coffee in cups was still warm, but all 5 people were gone. The official story said the team must have run into poison gas that made them run deeper into the tunnels, where they got lost. But no one ever found any gas. And even after a huge 3-week search with more than 200 people, the missing team was never found. The government kept this event secret, but rumors spread fast among the workers who were left. Known for being logical and doubtful, added, "I don't believe in ghosts, but I believe in facts. And the facts show that something at Yucca Mountain goes beyond what science can explain." By 2010, the Yucca Mountain project faced political fights and money problems. The official story blamed budget cuts and rock safety concerns, but secret memos leaked years later hint that the growing number of unexplained events was a big reason they decided to shut down the facility. The last incident before the project ended is the hardest to explain. On January 17, 2011, at exactly 3:33 a.m., every piece of electronic equipment in the facility failed at the same time. Backup generators turned on but worked for only 17 seconds before also failing. In the total darkness that followed, all 76 workers still inside the mountain reported hearing the whispers grow from quiet to extremely loud. Many people described feeling time stretching and feeling like they were seeing the past, present, and future all at once. Security guard Marcus Williams, who was at the main entrance tunnel, gave one of the clearest reports. The darkness was total, deeper than any darkness I've ever seen. Then the whispers started, coming from everywhere at once. They were speaking English now, very clear, telling us we had made a mistake, that we were putting the wrong thing in the mountain. Williams added, "They said the mountain wasn't meant for our waste. It was meant to hold something else, something that was already there, something very old. And we were making the walls weaker with our tunnels." The last thing I remember before the lights came back on was one voice, louder than the rest, saying, "The doors swing both ways." When power came back on 43 minutes later, 3 workers were missing. Unlike the Baker 7 team years earlier, these people were found, knocked out in a cave no one had explored before, half a mile from where they should have been. They had no memory of how they got there. Medical tests showed nothing strange except high levels of a rare substance in their blood that usually only shows up after being near certain types of advanced physics experiments. Maybe the strangest thing was what happened to the main computer system. When tech workers got it running again, they found all the data storage wiped clean, but the system's memory now had a single file that no one had created. The file contained plans for a containment system much more advanced than anything we have now. Engineers who studied the plans said they used physics ideas that scientists hadn't even thought of yet. Even stranger were the notes in the drawings, written in perfect English but describing things that would only be needed if you had to contain time leakage or stop things coming in from other dimensions. 2 months later, on March 25th, 2011, the Department of Energy announced they were closing Yucca Mountain. The official reason was technical and regulatory issues. All workers except a few were sent away, and the main tunnels were sealed with thick concrete walls. A small security team still works there, supposedly to watch the fence and keep people out, but former workers say their real job is to check the earthquake sensors still hidden throughout the mountain. Sensors that sometimes show readings that should be impossible, as if huge things are moving through solid rock. The Western Shoshone tribe has their own explanation. According to tribal members who still do cleaning ceremonies near the site, the mountain has always been a doorway between worlds. The big tunnel digging weakened this doorway, letting something start to cross over, or maybe letting something trapped inside get ready to escape. "The mountain speaks to warn us," says Shoshone elder Grace Running Water. Those who heard the whispers were being given a message meant to save us all. The question is whether anyone was really listening. What's true is that even after they closed the facility, the weird stuff didn't completely stop. People who live nearby sometimes report strange lights moving inside the mountain at night. Hikers who get too close to the fence say they lose track of time and hear faint whispers on the wind. Maybe the most telling sign is that the government won't reuse or reopen the facility even though they spent billions of dollars on it. In 2019, Congress tried to look into other uses for the Yucca Mountain complex, but the investigation was quietly dropped after the inspection team spent just 27 minutes inside the main tunnel. No one officially explained why they left so quickly, but one committee member later quit his government job entirely. When reporters asked him about what he saw, he would only say, "Some places should stay untouched. That mountain is talking and we should stop pretending we can't hear it." Scientists from the Department of Energy who still study data from Yucca Mountain have less exciting ideas. They say the special rocks might make weird fields that mess with machines and trick people's minds. Others think it's just what happens when people work underground near nuclear stuff for too long. But these ideas don't explain why hundreds of people who never met each other saw and heard the same strange things, or why real, solid proof sometimes came with these weird events. A team of independent researchers led by Dr. Sarah Whitman set up camp near the perimeter in early 2025. Using specialized equipment, they recorded sounds coming from the direction of the mountain that regular microphones couldn't detect. When the audio was processed and played back, what they heard stunned them. Rhythmic patterns that language experts identified as similar to ancient Paiute dialect, but with impossible linguistic structures, as if the language itself was evolving backward. What we recorded shouldn't exist, Whitman stated in her preliminary findings. It has elements of a language that hasn't been spoken in centuries, combined with mathematical patterns that suggest it's not random noise but deliberately constructed communication. People who lived near the mountain for generations have their own stories that predate the government project